All right, mic check, I'm good. So I'm Ceron, CWB Association Welding podcast. Today we have a really cool guest, Welding podcast.
The show is about to begin.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the CWB Association podcast. My name is Ceron, and as always, we're looking for the best talent in the world to interview. And today and this month specifically, we're celebrating Black History Month, which is a very important day for all the Black people and people in the Black community and people of color around the world. As a part of this series for this month, we have Leon Hudson coming into us from the GTA, I believe. I didn't even ask, but I think you're out there.
Yes.
Hey, Leon, how are you doing?
I am doing excellent. How are you, Max?
I'm doing fantastic. So I want to get your title right. You work for Pharonius, and you are the manager of the Perfect Welding Technical Department and Technical Support for National something. It was a long title. What do you got?
So in the shortest form, as it shows up in our system, I am the Perfect Welding Technical Support National Manager.
Okay. All right.
So what does that mean is we have a few different departments or business units, welding, solar, and battery charging. In terms of the welding division, we're called Perfect Welding, and I am the manager of all the technical support in Canada for that.
So as a manager for all of technical support, that means that you got to know kind of how every machine operates, all the pieces, all the parts, and you got to be able to, you're not necessarily the one fixing it yourself as a manager, but you got to be telling people what to do when they call in, right? Or training them at least.
Yeah. So we do a little bit of everything. We do the, let's start from the start.
Mm-hmm.
Certain welding challenge is in the industry. They knock on doors a lot of times, and the sales team says, "Hey, I'll introduce you to my technical guys, and they will try to solve your problem."
Yeah,
that's my guys. Those are my guys. So we're talking from, okay, let's get to the meat and potatoes of your project. We'll start welding with whichever solution we think is best, whether it's robotic, maybe a hard automation, like maybe a tractor or something.
Yeah.
Right? Or manual welding. So this department will do all the welding for it. Okay. Proof of concept to the customer. He likes it. He loves it. He buys it. Now, my department is also configuring everything for all the nuts and bolts and pieces to make this black box into a working system, let's say. Then it goes to the customer or the integrator to put on a robot. We go with the equipment. We show them how to set it up to make it work, to arcs and sparks. And then another section, we go and we train on how to use it. And then if it breaks, we also do that. And everything in between, data documentation, everything. So I manage the department that handles all that.
So the sales team gets it easy.
Oh yeah, they do get to knock on the door sometimes. From time to time, they get to knock on the door, but they get to drop it in their laps and say, "Make it work."
Yeah.
And from a welding standpoint, we have to make it work.
So that's a very specific technical field that you're in. So in order to get to the spot we're in right now, let's go right back to the beginning, because it sounds like it's going to be some type of a path to get from inception of Leon, baby Leon, to manager of all the nuts and bolts and everything welding for Fronius Canada. So,
yes,
where were you born? And let's start at the start.
From the start. So, born in Jamaica.
Where in Jamaica?
Montego Bay.
Montego Bay. All right.
Right. So I'm born on the beaches of Jamaica, Montego Bay, the tourist area. Grew up with an extended family, pretty large family. We're talking about grandma had 22 dinner plates on the table.
Yeah.
Kind of extended family, right?
That's a big table. People are sitting at the couch. People are sitting at the table.
Yeah, it was 22 dinner plates at the table. I tell people all the time, they can't believe. So from there, you're learning from all your older cousins and all that, right? And it's competitive. in that environment, right?
Mhm.
You want to win all the races. You want to have the biggest dinner plate because that
Yeah.
means you're the biggest boy around, right? Or whatever. So we grew up like most Jamaicans. We're playing soccer or football.
Yeah.
We're a little bit British still, so we're still playing cricket, right?
Mhm.
And we grew up in the British school system, so we're doing grade 1 to, let's say, 5, 6 in the primary school, and then in grade 5 you get to take an exam. Now you pass this exam, you skip grade 6, go to grade 7. So I was one of the lucky, let's say 50, 60, 70%, skip grade 6, get to grade 7, and I get to a technical high school. This is where it gets interesting. Not many of these schools around, but a technical high school in Jamaica allows you to do grade 7, grade 8. In grade 9, you start choosing what you want to be in life. So I'm like, okay, I want to be in engineering, right? So in grade 10, I go in engineering. Now, the options, you're learning metals. So you're grinding, you're welding, you're designing different metal projects, you're doing some woodworking stuff, you're doing your physics, your chemistry, all those engineering sciences, right, to prepare you for post-secondary. So that's grade 10 and grade 11. Now, at the end of grade 10, my dad decided, he lived in Canada at the time.
So what was he doing in Canada already?
He was working at CarMax in a so CarMax is a Magna company, and they do automotive
parts, right. And he had come up on a contract or on a foreign worker program, or was he living already in Canada?
He lived in Canada a couple months before I was born.
Okay.
Right. So my mom is pregnant in Jamaica. He comes to Canada,
make more money, send home,
make a better life, make money, send home. Right. So that all happened. And I remember in grade 7, if I turn back to grade 7, and I was in the library with the library teacher at the time, because you had to learn library sciences. And I'm like, yeah, my dad's in Canada. He builds cars for a living. I don't need to go to school, right? I'm going to do that, right?
I got it all figured out.
I'm like, yeah, I got it all figured out. I'm grade 7. My dad's in Canada. He's making cars. And at that time, he had a pretty nice car. So he sent the picture back. I was like, oh, this is nice. I'm going to do exactly what my dad did, right? So the teacher looked at me at the time and said, your dad makes cars for a living. If he went to school, he'd be the manager of the people who makes cars. And that stuck with me from then until now. I remember that conversation. She beat me, but I didn't let her know that she beat me in that conversation.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we fast forward. My dad is living in Canada. He's living in the GTA, Toronto area. And he just wanted, at the time, to celebrate the success of his kids, right? You pass that exam in grade 5, skip grade 6, go to grade 7. He's like, okay, let's come up and we'll celebrate in Canada, right?
Yeah.
He tried to do that for me and my brother, but he was unsuccessful. So he said, okay, you know what? Let's just move you to Canada so we never have to worry about this happening again. So we moved to Canada in grade 10, in the grade 10. Come to Canada in Toronto, in the Toronto area.
And how many of you came up to Canada together?
At the time, 3.
Okay.
My oldest sister, I don't know if she's allowed me to tell this story, but she's now a doctor nurse.
Nurse practitioner, right? Yeah.
With a PhD now.
With a PhD, yeah. Awesome.
So I'm like, you're a doctor nurse. Like,
yeah.
That's it.
That's top game.
Right? Doctor nurse. And my brother now, he is an inspector for the Toronto police. Right? And little old me, I'm the youngest one at the time. So I'm just chasing behind their tails wherever they go, whatever they do, we try to do the same. Right? So we get to Toronto. I go to Western Collegiate. I'll bounce back and forth to that school in Jamaica in the future as we talk. So we get to Western Collegiate, know nothing about the system,
Yeah.
right? How it works. We know you go to school. We don't know anything about school credits. How many credits do you need to go from here to here? Which classes do you need to do? What even happens after high school?
Yeah. Yeah.
We know
Well,
none
there's
of
no
that.
path. Yeah.
None of that. So it's just like, okay, we are living like day to day, test to test, quiz to quiz. Get a quiz, pass a quiz, get a test, pass a test, right? And the support to navigate the path isn't really there. It wasn't at the time. It's getting better now. I know teachers in the system now who are educating me on the things that I saw back then that wasn't right.
Yeah. It's still a struggle, though, man. It's still a struggle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, right? Because I remember when I came into grade 10, they had me do a test. And I'm like, guys, I did grade 10 already in Jamaica. They're like, oh, your age says you have to do grade 10. I'm like, well, I skipped a grade because,
Yeah.
and I also did grade 10. So he's like, no, you have to. So I did the test, and then they put me in a certain grade. And then 4 days after school starts, the teacher takes me and goes, no, you shouldn't be here. You should be someplace else. It's, you're not supposed to be here. This is, right? But I also got lucky because at the time, it was an English class. No, I hate doing English classes. I'll tell you that the truth.
Yeah, me too. I hated them.
I'm a math guy.
Yeah.
Right? For me, I was a math guy.
And I
So
love to read, but I hate doing English. There's a difference.
Right. Exactly. So my English teacher takes me to where we're doing a book written by a Jamaican lady. So I'm in class and I am translating the Jamaican patois to English, right? And somewhere in that, he's like, no, you shouldn't be in this class. You should be in a different class, right? And just that move from him noticing something and moving me someplace else sort of set me on a path to, let's say, success. I would probably have still been successful doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that would have been, but I think that was a turning point in Canada where somebody saw me and go, no, you shouldn't be here. You should be here. Because again, I don't know the system. I don't know anything. That sort of set me up on a path to get back into engineering from a university standpoint. Now, my brother, he took his path. My sister took hers. Again, she gets in at grade 12. Where do I go? I graduate and I'll do nursing, right? You don't know the system, right? She ends up in nursing. Now, when we were in our school, I remember in our school, it had probably 100 different languages and countries in the school. Toronto, it's all a mix of everything. Luckily, there were some other Jamaicans in the school, and then you got on a soccer team, and then you start meeting.
Then you got your gang. You got your gang,
right? Yeah. I was walking in the class, my first day of class, and I heard a Jamaican word, and that calmed me right down.
Mm-hmm.
I was nervous because I'm in Jamaica, I'm watching TV and you see kids getting stuffed in locker rooms and stuff like that, or lockers and stuff like that. That's what you sort of expect, right? Bullying and all of that stuff. I didn't really know what to expect other than what I saw on TV. I get to school and I hear Jamaican words and I'm like, oh, it's okay. It's going to be okay. There's other Jamaicans here and stuff, right? Yeah. So that was common. But you get into school, you're doing it, but there was no pathway.
Well, you bring up a bunch of different things. I want to stop you here because there's a few points here that are very interesting. First of all, is the difference between school systems in Canada versus other countries, which as North America has this habit of thinking that we just do everything the best and better than everybody else. That's just kind of the North American way of thinking, which take it for what it is. But there's one thing I'll tell you about other countries is the school systems and the way they divide out into skills, practical skills, educational skills. I love that. It's the same in Chile. It's the same in lots of other countries. By grade 10, you're already working towards either university, technical school, And and it saves you money. It saves you time. It saves you a headache because you already have people working with you to be like, all right, let's get you on this path. And if you decide to change your mind, by the time you're in grade 12, you already have skills to work. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that's something that I've brought up for decades, being like, why don't we have a system like that in Canada? We kind of have a system like that for kids that fall under the radar. Oh, like, oh, you're like a problem kid, or you got issues, or you got something. Oh, okay, well then maybe you should go look at this tech school. That's not the right attitude, though. We shouldn't be looking at it like that. It should be like, oh, you love to work with your hands, and you're a super smart, straight A student. Tech schools for you too. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that's the one point I wanted to bring up, and especially for the listeners that don't know this about other countries. The other part is how important having that right teacher at the right time can make in your life. Because when I came to Canada with my family, I was just a little kid. So like Spanish was my first language. I started kindergarten, didn't know any English, I was just an immigrant. But luckily, because of the way immigration was back in the 70s, all the kids in my school were immigrants. So like no one spoke English, right? Like it was like, you know, we got Somalis, we got Tree, we got, you know, Spanish, we got Russian, Ukrainian, all these crazy languages everywhere. So we kind of got along. But then in grade 5, weird little Max story, my dad won the lottery. Not a lot, but a little bit, enough to move us out of that neighborhood and into a nice neighborhood. And when I ended up in the nice neighborhood, it was like the worst time of my life. I swear to God, it was the worst thing that ever happened to me, because now I was the only Spanish kid in an all-white school. Like it was just like out of a TV show with the bullying. First day of school, I went home crying. I hated life. Like this is the worst thing that could ever happen. I was literally singled out for my clothes, my looks, my face, the way I talked. Everything was made fun of.
Oh, for sure.
Right on day one. But I had a teacher in grade 5 that noticed that I was really good at math and science, like exceptionally good. And they made such a huge difference in my life, being like, you know what, you're here, you're only gonna be here for like 3 years and you're gonna go off to high school. Just power through, kid. Just power through. All these people, you'll never see them again. You'll start a whole new life and you'll be fine. And I always think about that. Like, you know, things can be really right now, but you'll get through it. You know, just keep your eye on the prize, focus, go forward, right?
Yeah.
All right.
And
so here you are.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's and that's a very similar story to many immigrants, let's say, who come from wherever, whether it's the South or East and all those places, right? So I get to high school.
You're like going into grade 11/12 now, yeah.
It's 11/12. Graduated in grade 11 officially. Don't tell anyone I told you that. They still won't believe that. You're like, how are you graduating in grade 11?
If you got the credits.
Like, my brother right there, he's graduating. I'll be right behind him. So I graduated grade 11. Did one more year. At the time, we had OAC. Right. Then I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I just literally threw a dart to the dartboard, and whatever it's stuck on, all right, I'm going to York University for computer science. Right.
What happened to the thoughts of engineering from back in Jamaica?
Kind
of just fell off the radar there.
It's not necessarily. I was in school, and they brought in a speaker, and the speaker goes, in the next 20 years, everybody in computer science is going to retire, and there's going to be jobs. So that's what I heard. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, makes sense. I'll go do that in school, right? Again, I don't know the system. All right, now I'm here. I have to pay for school. How do I pay for school? Right. I ended up getting a summer job. Did pretty well in the summer job. Saved up enough, paid for my first year university. Now I can't afford books.
Yeah.
So I go to university, can't afford books. Can't afford a computer to do computer science, so I'm basically living at the university. Right. I'm living at the library because if I need to type something, I can't do it at home. Yeah, because I don't have a computer at home. So how you be a computer scientist without a computer? Yeah, right. So we did that, and eventually, I was pretty successful at that. But eventually, my family moved, and the access to school became difficult. Now you got to work, right, to help support the family. My brother's in school, my sister's in school. Okay, so I go to work to support the family. And then after that, I said, okay, what am I going to do now? Right. I was successful at school in computer science. It wasn't really, let's say, my passion, engineering, my passion. So I ended up going back into engineering, going back to school for engineering. Again, no mentor, no nothing, just, hey, this is what I did, so I'm going to do it again. Right. And we fast forward, and I'm successful at that, and I get a job at ESAB.
All right.
So
and now you're done with engineering, or you're still in engineering?
I'm still in engineering.
Yeah.
I was in school, Humber College at the time, and because now I got to start back over to do the engineering, right? I get to Humber College, and it's a co-op program.
Right.
Right. All right. I'm doing a co-op program, and it's in electronics. No co-op position. So I go online and I apply to everything I see. I get a phone call from ESAB. I go in and going for the interview. It turned out that the topics they were asking in the interview is literally what I just learned in school last week.
Oh, perfect.
Right. He's like, I'm hiring you right now, right here. We're going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, perfect. So he gives me a tour of the facility. Now I'm in electronics engineering, and I'm touching 5-amp power supplies, right?
And the teacher's like, be careful, that 5-amp power supply
Right.
give you a real shock.
Right. So that's exactly what's happening. He brings me to the back for a tour of ESAB, and he's like, yeah, so this one is 1,500 amps, and this one is 1,000 amps power supply. These are big sub-arc machines at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh yeah. I am nervous.
Yeah, you got 575 volts coming out the wall.
Right? Normally it's 24 volts, 5 amps.
Yeah.
That's all we're touching in school, right? I get to ESAB, and it's the
And sub-arcs is as big as it gets. Like, I mean, you're looking 1,500 amps on 2 machines chained together. Just, you know what I mean?
right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you know what? I need a co-op position. I'm gonna fake it till I make it. So I'm like, yeah, I passed the test that they gave me, so I must be half decent. And I get into first day of school, first day of work, and it's just, I don't know who puts these people in my life from time to time. I pop in, and it's this Trinidadian man, and he used to work at. He's retired now. But he's done so much in the welding industry in terms of preparing welding machines, right? Wealth of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like my first mentoring type situation, right? Showing me all the ropes, helping me be safe, get through that experience. The downturn of 2008 happens. Economic downturn happens. ESAB keeps me on full time. I end up going on a major project in the US. We were doing wind towers.
Okay, so you need gantries and stuff, like everything.
No, I'm the gantry guy. I'm the one that's installing these massive gantries in what was the largest wind tower manufacturing facility, I think globally, but definitely in the US. It was absolutely massive, right? And that started setting me up for things to come. So at ESAB, I was doing the welding gantries, the sub-arc welding gantries. I was doing the plasma cutting tables, also water jet. So I did the full gamut of everything, right? They say you got to cut before you weld. So I was cutting and I was welding. Now, at the time, there wasn't anyone that was doing both cutting and welding at ESAB, right? So I did a full manual repair systems, cutting, welding, automation. So I had like a really great let's say, experience at ESOP
Mhm.
building into the welding industry.
Now,
So
question, like when you talk about your mentor from Trinidad, was there a sense of comfort because he was also a person of color, or was it just a luck of the draw that this person just happens to be from Trinidad? Because I know I have appreciated, especially because English isn't my first language. Any mentorship I've ever gotten with someone who can speak in my language is always like, perfect. You know what I mean? But that's few and far between. Like you don't get a lot of those, right?
yeah, you don't. I said I lucked out because if I look around in the industry, there's not many black faces I see,
No.
right? Um, Eventually we'll get there
Yeah.
across the board, right? But there was definitely a level of comfort, and at one point he was like an uncle,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
How he provided information, he made sure everything was, because we're moving from 24 volts DC to 600 volt three phase,
Mm-hmm.
really big welding machines, right? So he took really really good care of me. I remember when I was leaving ESOP, he cried that day,
Yeah.
right? And that's when I realized like who I had in my corner, right? When I left, so that was really really something I never realized at the time until it was almost at the end. I was like,
Yeah.
well, he really took care of me, right?
Yeah. He counted on
Uh,
you too, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we developed a really good relationship. He ended up retiring, and then let me see it. I was the only other black person the welding
Part of
um
yourself. Yeah.
the welding part at ESAB. Now we had finance, we had support there, we had, so we still had enough of a footprint at ESAB, but yeah, he definitely helped me navigate,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I won't let's say minimize the effect of everybody else here because they had some really really good people at the time,
Yeah.
people of different races and color, languages and stuff like that. So it was a nice team. The same effect that you had as a new immigrant when
Mm-hmm.
you see other people who are immigrants also. So they had that team. But I remember him for specifically. He took real good care of me
Yeah.
and helped me develop right into where I'm at.
So you're in the
So
co-op
yeah.
program with ESAB, which
Hmm.
turned into a full-time job. So I assume here you finished your engineering. You got
Yep.
I see your ring on your finger. So you got
Yep.
your PNs, and then you stayed on at ESAB for a number of years and you worked on the giant project, right?
I've worked on, so there's a bit more schooling
Okay. All right.
in the future, right? So there's Humber, there's I went away to Lakehead, so pretty close to where, not super close to where you are, but close to that where I'm at right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I did some other schooling. I remember when I was leaving, that I had a whole bunch of friends who went to university after. And I was like, you know what, guys, I'm gonna come and we're gonna have a blast. So we end up at university, but at the same time, I'm back and forth with ESAB, still learning, still growing, still developing.
Yeah.
Um, and graduated, then back at ESAB again, full time again. Um, Now all the let's say the more senior guys are now gone from, let's say, the welding and repair, and I'm now quote
Moving
unquote the
up.
senior guy,
Yeah.
right? I'm quote unquote the senior guy, and then Fronius came knocking, and I left.
So you got
That's
poached.
Fronius. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody found me.
Yeah, because I was wondering, because it sounds like you're having a great time at ESAB, and my question was going to be, why did you leave?
Why did I leave? Now, I've had at ESAB, how the system was set up. You have kids graduating from Conestoga and stuff like that, and
Mm-hmm.
they get hired on, and I end up developing relationships with those guys because I had access to the technology,
Yeah.
right? They were either in some kind of sales position, or you start off understanding the system and then you move into a more full-time welding position. But I had access to the technology, and we were all around the same age. So I ended up hanging out with a lot of those guys over time and learning, let's say, the welding technology and getting better at the welding technology, even though I did electrical, getting better at the welding technology through those relationships. And Fronius came knocking just randomly, and I reached out to some of those guys. Hey, what do you know about Fronius? They're knocking on the door, and I remember a couple of them like, if you have a chance, do it, right? So that's how I end up now. ESAB has a work culture that they make people like really resilient at ESAB. ESAB people are really resilient, and they don't move on very much.
Yeah, I know. Right? I know a lot of people that have been doing their time at ESAB, but they got no desire to leave. Yeah.
Exactly. I was like, what am I doing here? Because I look at this guy, he's 25 years. This guy's 30 years. He's been here since he graduated school, and now he's a general manager. This guy's the VP. Like, no one leaves ESAB. Yeah. So it was not the easiest decision to leave, right? And I still have relationships with those guys to this day, right? See them at trade shows and stuff like that. And they always say welding is a big industry but a small world, right?
Yeah, it's a big community, but we all know each other.
Yeah. So it was great fun. Still have great relationships with those guys. Still talk to a lot of them to this day.
So then Pharonius shows up, knock on the door, being like, "Hey, look at our shiny cool machines. We're the Ferraris of welding over here, bright red. Let's look." And they have a way different background. Like Pharonius is a different company altogether. Even just how they got in the game, like they're over 100 years old in the energy department, and welding kind of came last. So it's very interesting how they got in the game, right?
Oh, for sure. They started recharging batteries, right? So they still have a battery department to this day. Which is one of the things that helps them being successful, being diversified in different things. But yeah, the battery came first, then the welding, and now solar energy is a thriving part of the business. So I get in. I remember in the interview, they go, "Oh, I hope your automotive guys aren't listening to this one." They're like in the interview, they asked me, "So you're at an automotive facility and it's costing so much an hour for downtime, and there's 200 machines and one's not working. How do you handle this level of stress?" I say, "It's only one that's broken. If it's only one, it's okay." They're like, "It's only one that's broken?"
Yeah.
They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "If it's only one, it's okay. I thought it was like all 200 are broken. Now we got a problem, right?" So yeah, we got in at the time. I was the only we call electrical systems, welding systems, engineering person.
And what year is this?
And this is 10 years ago.
So 2014.
2014.
Yeah.
So the company is growing, right?
Because even 10 years ago, there was not, I would say, a huge Pharonius footprint in North America.
No. The U.S. started a bit before, but yeah, the footprint was super small. So I came on, and there's now a team that is a lot of guys from Conestoga College welding engineering program. Then we're bouncing ideas, learning even more on the welding technology side, right? I think that's where, so I think ESAB brought me into the welding equipment. Fronius brought me into the welding technology.
I see.
Right.
All right.
Understanding the arc, understanding all that goes into the perfect arc, or completing a job with the right process, the right welding speeds, the right parameters, right? So this is where I learned all that through the last, let's say, decade of working at Fronius. Now, sometimes I get calls and like, hey, Leon, I got your number from so and so. I'm looking into this project. And I'm like, this is a different place from where I started to now somebody calling me, reaching out for a solution for a welding problem. I think that's one of the coolest things I do, right? That phone call, like, hey, Leon, I'm working on this. And who is this?
Yeah.
Oh, I got your number from so and so, and I'm working on this problem. And can you help me? Oh yeah, come by the lab. We'll do some development and try to prove out the problem that you're working on. Yeah. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So let's take a break right now. We're right at the half-hour mark. This is perfect. We'll take our sponsor break, because when we get back, we're going to talk about what it is that you do on the day-to-day. What are the projects you're working on with Fronius and the future for Leon. So we'll be right back here on the CWB Association podcast with Leon Hudson from Pharonius. Don't go anywhere. And we are back here on the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron. Thanks for tuning in and listening along. Today we have Leon Hudson on our special Black History Month episode, celebrating the success of wonderful Black Canadians here in Canada. We were just talking about the recap, coming from Jamaica, working it out. Dad's working the automotive, built the family up, got everyone over. Then the school, the university, then ESAB, then now Pharonius comes knocking. You make the jump over to Pharonius, who at that point I would say is a much less established company in Canada, not worldwide necessarily, but in Canada, and they bring you on the team, right? And you were just talking about how you're kind of transitioning from kind of a problem solver to a solution solver, which is a little bit of a different way. And you're saying how that's exciting. And explain to people maybe the difference of both sides of that equation. Like from before where you're just trying to solve the problem after it's already happened to the other side of it where you're trying to make sure the problem never starts.
Right. So in the ESAB days, it was a field service specialist. What does that mean? You jump in a car, you go on a plane, you go to facilities all over North America, throughout Canada to install your machines or fix them when they're broken, provide some training, right? There's a lot more that we did, but that's, let's say, the heavy gist. Now I come to Fronius, it's a little bit of that, and then it starts growing. The knowledge of the products and the processes starts growing. The knowledge of the industry starts growing. You're in MIG-MAG, TIG, stick, laser hybrid, dual wire processes, plasma welding, right? So the breadth of processes starts to expand, and your knowledge of them starts to expand. And then as Fronius starts growing and people start seeing the name around, then it's okay, I'm working on this problem that I've had for X amount of years or whatever. I'm developing a new process. How do I get there with the best solutions? And then the questions come, right? I remember once at Fronius, we ran a little program called What's Your Welding Challenge, right? So the idea is you bring your most difficult welding challenge here and we have to solve it. Now, one of the things that makes my job so interesting is that's every day now, right? What's your welding challenges every day, right? So you want to build rail cars and you want to put down 60 pounds an hour of MIG wire, right?
Yeah. All right.
Okay. How do we do that? You want to weld something 0.5 millimeter thick with plasma because you've never been able to do this before.
Yeah.
maybe you're in XYZ, you're in food and beverage, you're in oil and gas, you're in pharmaceuticals. Now, the range of things that's welded, it's mind blowing.
Yeah, it's
right?
never ending, really.
It never ends. And I think that's one of the things we don't really discuss as people in the welding industry, right? How vast and how wide the industry is and how many things that we build.
Well, I always tell kids, if it's not made of steel, it was made by something made of steel.
Exactly.
And there's no way around it. Literally every single thing in our society is either made of steel or made by a machine made of steel. So there's no way around it.
So remember I said I was going back to my high school in Jamaica. Now, I still do that. I still go back to the school, right? First, I used to bring safety equipment because they have a welding department. And last time I checked it, they were like the best welding department, high school in all the Caribbean, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the competition. So I used to bring them your auto darkening helmets, your gloves, your jackets, safety stuff. Because, okay, it's one thing that you're welding, but let's do it safely. So I've always gone back. I go back for vacation. I always leave a day to go visit. I give little chats to the engineering students. And that was always a part of what I did, right, for that school. I remember late last year, they called me and he goes, "Hey, Leon, we got a problem." I'm like, "What's the problem?" "We got 174 students in engineering and we don't have a welding machine. Can you help us out?"
Yeah.
"We don't have a welding machine." "Right. All right. Let me know the process to get you one." So I bought a welding machine from Fronius. We worked together. We get me a welding machine, right? Safety gear. Some other colleagues donated. Hi, Greg, if you're listening. He donated a helmet, safety gear for the kids. So this is still something that I'm passionate about, is giving opportunities, because the first time I ever struck a welding arc was in Jamaica at the school, right? So it's like...
So what you're saying is we need a Jamaican chapter at the CWB Association.
If you did, you would do very well for yourself. All right?
Because let me tell you, we just started up our Chilean chapter last year in Chile, and it's kicking ass. They're doing an amazing work down there. Yeah.
If you had a Jamaican chapter, it would be successful. Yeah, I promise you that. Because the teachers, they tell me now that they do the AWS testing for their students, right? So it's not super hard to convert them over. It's not hard to convert them over. Right?
I mean, and you're going to a better standard anyway.
Right? So they are embracing the North American welding. So for sure, if that's a conversation we could have.
And the Caribbean's got lots of shipbuilding. It's got I applied for a job out in Bermuda when I was like 24 years old as a welder for Carnival Cruise Lines because they needed welders, and I was man, awesome. that would be the best job. And they were looking for on-site welders, so like you go with the cruise ship to be a part of the staff in case anything needs to be repaired. And I applied for that job. I had big dreams. I already thought in my head I had the job, and I never even got an interview. Damn it.
Ouch. They regret it now, I promise you that.
Yeah, that would have been a good time. But hey, man, everything happens for a reason. So
for sure. So I think that's the thing that I do that I'm most proud about.
Yeah. And that's a very typical immigrant thing to want to give back. Like when I was sitting in board meetings with the CWB and they're talking about expansion internationally, I'm like, Chile, I'm from there. Like, why wouldn't we go? Like, there's a few obvious reasons. Number one, Chile's a part of NAFTA, trade agreements. We got that. Okay, it is what it is. But you got someone on your staff that has a connection. Use the connection, because it's not what you know, it's who you know, and we all know that in the industry.
For sure,
we all know that. So use your resources. You're from Jamaica, connect to Jamaica. Why wouldn't you? Exactly. Right? Like
exactly. So yeah, I've been told kind of so. I'm like, eventually you're gonna have a whole bunch of Jamaican students showing up.
Perfect. Yeah, awesome.
Welding engineering technology. So brace yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, I think that I've always wanted to do that, and I'm happy I have the opportunity to do it. Now I remember it was when I lived in Toronto. I talked to a friend of mine. We grew up in the same apartment building in Toronto, right? He went off to McMaster, did an engineering degree, working for, I think, Hydro One at the time. And he's like, honestly, I grew up in Toronto, and the furthest I went from my house was 4 stoplights that way and 3 stoplights that way. And I'm like, really? And I thought that, you come to Canada and people are going everywhere and seeing everything, right? It was Jamaican also, and he didn't go places, he didn't see things, he didn't experience things. There was no, let's say, outreach program or pathways to, so he had to figure out on his own how to start where he was to make it to where he is, right? So we always discussed what can we do for kids like us who grew up in that community, to have them experience and give them opportunities. So now as the manager of this department, I have the access to some of the coolest technology in the industry, right? So every chance I get, a school calls up, hey, we're looking for co-op students or something. I try my best to either get a co-op student in or
guide them into that area,
or guide them the best I can, right? Come for a tour of the lab, right? See welding, come weld, right? Daniela, if you're listening, I also think you should come to the lab.
Hey, not without me. I'm coming too. I'm in Toronto every few months or every 6 weeks or so I'll be there.
Give us a shout. Give me a shout, and it'll make it happen. So yeah, I always try to give students an opportunity to see the cool things that's happening in welding, right? The first time I went back to Jamaica, and it's probably about 40 students in the class, and I'm giving my first little chat, right? Now all the desks are turned around and turned this way. No one's paying attention to me, but I made a presentation, right? And I said, okay, what I'm going to do is just show them the coolest things that is in the welding industry. And I swear, they gave me an hour to talk to the kids. First 5 minutes, everybody's turned around. After that, everybody straight, full focus. 2 hours. 2 hours. Yeah. So the kids, they dialed in, So they want to learn, they want to know, they want to be a part of something cool. And I think we have something cool going in the industry, right?
We do.
And you get to, it also helps you travel, right?
Oh, for sure, man.
If you want.
I say that all the time. Like, I mean, I've been all over the world with this industry, and it was easy, honestly. Like,
right? I'm like, it'd be like, oh my goodness, I want to go to Europe. And I'm like, wait, how many times have I been to Europe because of welding?
Yeah.
Right? How many provinces have I seen because of welding? The last time I saw you was a different province because of welding, right? I've been to Vancouver once in my life. And it was because of welding. We were doing something at C-SPAN.
Right.
C-SPAN is massive.
That's massive.
Absolutely
massive. The 4 shipyards are huge. Most people don't even see all 4.
Right. I was there the day they were during the time they were installing the big blue crane, and there was a helicopter flying under the crane, and I was like, I am here. This is happening. It's a helicopter flying under a crane. This is how big this place is, right? So I've honestly seen the coolest things, being in the coolest manufacturing facilities, the best, and the people. The skill of the people here that's working in the industry is absolutely amazing. And I think it's part of my duty to help, let's say, push that in my community for sure. Because a lot of things, because as I told you, when I was growing up, there was nobody to guide really, right? Now I'm the one guiding. Like, I have friends calling, family calling. One of my buddy calls, he's like, hey, my daughter wants to get in engineering. What's the pathway?
Mhm.
I went to a wedding. Hey, I heard you're an engineer. My kid wants to be an engineer. What's the pathway? Um, hey, you're in welding. I want to get into welding. What's the pathway? Right. So I'm seeing a lot of, let's say, requests from people in my
Yeah.
community
Opportunities
asking,
to mentor. Yeah.
right? Yeah, mentorship.
Mhm.
I'm mentoring a student now in engineering, right?
That's
So the
awesome.
opportunities are there, and it's not something I shy away from.
Yeah.
100%. I will never shy away from, given my knowledge, whatever it is, because there could be one sentence that triggers somebody to feed a whole family
Well,
and a generation.
you brought it up earlier, having that one person step in at the right time. And then when you had the next person step in at ESAB at the right time, and
Yeah,
you have that, people always ask me what was my secret for success to go from a welder, my dad was a welder, I was a welder, kind of like that was life. And now the director at CWB. And it's like mentors, the right people at the right time, keeping your eyes
yeah,
open, being friendly, don't burn your
yeah,
bridges. It's the network, and you can be as skilled as you want. Skills don't get you all the way.
for sure.
It's got to be drive and personality, ambition, and those are the things, and a desire to give back. Because when people see you giving back, then they're not afraid to give you more,
For
right?
sure.
Because
Okay. Yeah.
because when you give out, people will give you more to give out. Because a lot of people
Yeah.
want to give, but they're not built for it, right?
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
people that give are a different type of people. Like you got to have that energy. You got to have so people will see you give and then support you because
For sure.
you're the one that's going to give it, and that's awesome,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that's just life. That's just the way it works. And knowing you're that person and being like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna be some long nights, and yeah, it's gonna be work on my weekends, and yeah, I'm on vacation, but I'm still gonna be working. Fine, it's fun. It's really no
Yeah.
big deal, right? Like,
For sure. And that's exactly how I look at it. As I said, I just try to be present for. I could be the opportunity for somebody else
right.
to see something, to do something, to be something, and I try.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm from a huge family, right, in terms of an extended family.
Yeah,
Um,
that's funny because
so
my dad's got 15 brothers and sisters, and my mom's got 5. So it's I totally know what you mean, buddy.
yeah, so we've always, right, we've always had our own small community,
Mhm.
but the idea here is community, right? We're
Right.
always supportive, giving and giving back. We learned this from my grandma, right?
Yeah,
She was always taking care of the whole community. So it's just a part of me naturally
Yeah.
to give back and to be there and be supportive of anyone, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily black folk or anybody else. I
Yeah.
give, but I do have
Your
my
pet
high school at
projects.
my
Yeah,
heart.
you got your stuff. Yeah.
I got my high school at my heart, and I
Yeah.
will forever be by them, supporting them. And I met this one engineer when we were in school together. He's from Africa, and we were talking, and he said, "Leon, just remember this: always do what's right before you do what's good."
Yeah.
Right, and that stuck with me. So I'm always got to do what's right before you do what's good. Right.
I like that.
So that's yeah, it stuck with me, and I was like, because we were talking, and I'm like, he's like, "What do you want?" What we were talking about, what do you want to be, and what do you want to
Mhm.
do? And I'm like, my goal is to open a school.
Yeah. Awesome.
Right, that's what I told him. Right, that's my aim. My goal in life is to open a school, and at the end of it, that's what came of it. Do
Mhm.
what's right before you do what's good. So if the right thing to do is to open a school, that's the right thing to do. If
Yeah.
it's a good thing, you just want to do it for a vanity project, don't do it for that.
Yeah.
Right? Do it for the right things. Right? So that stuck with me forever, and I take that. So yeah.
So a couple questions about the actual technical side of Pharonius, because I'm curious, because you've been there 10 years. And I've seen
Mhm.
10 years ago, I was teaching at the college, and I remember we had a Fronius presentation come by. It was a guy from Austria, because at the time they were still flying people from Europe to do training sessions here because there was such few Fronius people on the ground. And And even back then, I think CMT had just started rolling out. There was a few that was kind of like the heyday when everyone was coming out with their own modified waveform of some kind.
Yeah.
And in your 10 years, how much have you seen Fronius kind of change or expand? And I'll tell you, this is the criticism from the outside that I hear about Fronius. To be honest, I'm just going to lay it out: is that Fronius is just for rich people. Like there's no Fronius at Princess Auto or Canadian Tire. There's no Fronius that's accessible to somebody who just wants to pick up a welding machine for their garage. And that's always been the thing. Like, I mean, it's like I said at the beginning, it's like the Ferrari of welding. Right? They're the awesome machines. They're the best machines. Good luck if you ever get one. Now, how do you feel about that statement?
There is a little bit of truth in a lot of what you said.
Mm-hmm.
We are, let's say, the Ferrari of welding. I talked to a customer once, or a potential customer at the last FabTech, and he's like, who's Fronius? Tell me who's Fronius. So I said, well, a lot of people say we're the Ferrari of welding, right? So he's like, okay, tell me why. And I introduced him to one of our machines, and I'm giving him the things that's gonna work for him. And at the end, he's like, Leon, Fronius is not the Ferrari of welding. Fronius is the spaceship of welding. You just take it to another level. Take it to another level. So it is true, right?
And that's not a bad thing, because we all wish we had a spaceship, right? Like, I mean, it's
right. It is true, but the bright side is we are starting to come with a lot of single phase equipment for garages and stuff like that. And the people who build the spaceships that we make is the same guys who build the stuff that you use in your garage.
Yes.
Your single phase stuff.
The same tech, the same quality, the same innovation.
Factory. The same factory, same designer, same everything, and technology is trickling down. It's the same high level of protection that would be in your automotive factory or in your production facility that's inside this these machines. Even more interested, or just as interesting, is the conversations that Fronius is having as they, let's say, venture into the market is coming directly through Canadians.
Yeah.
I will be in the meetings with R&D and we'll say, what about this? What about this? And they say, okay, maybe what about this? What about this? So we are in the ground floor on the design and the technology behind the latest machines that's coming in, specific for even a Canadian market. I remember once I was in, so the machines are designed, manufactured, built, everything out of Austria, right? So I was in Austria one night. We're walking to go for dinner, and then there's this man just coasting on his skateboard. He's like, Leon. I'm like, hey. He's like, Leon, you don't remember me? I'm like,
no.
How do I play this off? Right?
Yeah.
He's like, come on. You're the black guy that was in the meeting. I will never forget you. You're the black guy in the meeting. It ends up being one of the design engineers for the welding machines. Right. Cool. So a few weeks ago, I'm in Europe, and he's like, hey, come to my office. I'm designing a new machine. I need your feedback about what it needs to have for the Canadian market, right? What are you looking for this? What are you looking for this, right? And we started as, let's say, a little niche welding machine that is, let's say, the Ferrari that only the rich people could afford, to making it more accessible to everybody, right? At different price range. Now, we still have some that it's you need to save up a little bit, but we do have some that not necessarily Canadian Tire, but your normal distributors that you would go to,
we'll have access to them.
Of the world and those guys, and the stuff that you can buy on a credit card because your limit is at a decent number, right? And it's the same technology with the Fronius innovations and know-how built inside. There's some really cool things. I remember one of the simplest things I saw that actually blew my mind. was stick pulsing.
Yeah, I got to play with that.
It's like, what?
Why would you
Stick
need
pulse?
that? And then I tried it and I was like, oh.
Why wouldn't you need that?
Yeah.
Right. So we do a lot of things for industry, and we try to. One of the things that we do is we give the technology for the highest level of welding engineering,
Mhm.
right? If you've been doing it for 30 years and you have the inside out of welding, we give you that control of the machine. You can control one droplet of wire if you want.
Yeah.
And then we make it easy for the guy who just walked off the street. Because I remember the first time I ever welded, and you have the bucket in your hand like this, holding it, and then you're scratching, trying to get the stick to,
start.
you're
Yeah.
right, and your location is all over the place. You don't know where you are. So they're like, okay, they developed a technology called tracking arc. You strike, and it gives you a really, really low light that allows you to position the arc. And once you position the arc, then it starts welding at the welding current. Right. So for a guy
Mhm.
like me who's never done it before, and I don't know where to start or where to go, it brings that guy into welding and makes it easier for him. And then the most senior guy who, hey, I want one droplet of wire because this heat input on this part is super precise, and my interpass temperature has to be this, and this has to be perfect, and
Mhm.
my deposition rate has to be this. We give you that kind of control too.
Yeah, I
So
remember
it is.
being at a Fab Tech like 6 years ago, I forget, a few years back. And I was they're like, hey, let's get in this welding competition. Actually, I have the thing that I welded back there. I lost the welding competition, but it was on a Fronius machine. And I remember being like, I don't know how to set this. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And it's just got like a dial in the front and you can push it and move it around. And it's got like a million settings, and I was like kind of lost, and I feel like I did poorly in the weld competition because I didn't understand the machine. That's a cop out to the people that were watching. Sorry, I'm not the best welder, but I was at a disadvantage because you do need to know how to use a Fronius machine. Like and I think the new ones are way easier. If you look back 10 years ago, they were pretty intricate on the front,
Yeah.
and they've gotten a lot more user friendly. But to be honest, that's not really Fronius's game, in my opinion. I think that their game is high tech. They want to be at the top leading edge of development. I think that's kind of where they put their beans,
I would agree with you that there is a push on technology, because we like to say we're a technology company, not
Mhm.
necessarily a welding company, but there's nothing wrong with being a welding company. We're a technology company, and it's the innovation there is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm lucky to be in the welding technology space, where I'm having conversations with the R&D department,
Yeah.
right? And now that I have buddies in the R&D department, and I go here to see something on laser hybrid, and I go here to see another MIG process, and these guys are competing to see who could weld faster and give the least distortion, right?
Yeah.
The competition between even internally on processes
That's
is
awesome. Yeah.
it's actually quite fun to see, right? But there is a push to make it simple for the person who's starting, and I think that's the easiest thing. And one of the things I tell people now with synergic welding, you just need to crank one button.
Mm-hmm.
And for the guys who are like, oh, I just like welding at 21 volts because this wire works perfectly at 21 volts. Okay, crank to 21 volts, pull the trigger, everything else is done for you. For a guy that goes, I don't know, I like welding at about 180 amps, right? Because this is what I'm used to.
Mm-hmm.
180 amps and you weld. For somebody who just walks off the street and have no idea about anything, they just measure the thickness of the material and tell the machine the material is a half inch. Pull the trigger and go.
Yeah.
Right. So they have gone there in terms of simplifying it for
For the
somebody
user?
walking off
Yeah.
the street, right? And they have gone into the technology space even further with welding data application and taking information from the welding machine and making, let's say, using a welding wire to do a seam tracking,
Yeah.
right? Seam tracking on aluminum welding, which is never done before. So they've done some really, really, really cool things. I am super excited to work here, to be honest with you. I'm so excited because every day it's a new challenge.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's a challenge, right? Guys come out the street looking for a solution, right? And I'm happy. I do have a team across Canada that, facilitates this stuff. We have four main topics. We have the welding systems, the guy who are responsible for putting all this together and making the system perform. Then you have the welding applications. Those guys take the arc and develop your procedures. Then we have the welding data, all about communicating with
Different
full
machines.
facilities,
Yeah.
right? Stuff like that. Tell you when the contact tip is worn out. Hey, we need to, get this information to the right person. All the way to now training. So that's the 4 departments that I'm in charge of right now. We have our own little ecosystem, and it's fun. I don't even think about the days just fly by.
Yeah.
Right. I sort of hate it because it just means the grays come more and more.
Oh man, tell me about it. Tell me about it. I'm getting up there now. I don't even blame. I was 30 years old a minute ago. I don't know what happened, man. Like,
but it's actually so much fun to work here, and it's so the people we meet they're so let's say diverse, in their skill sets and their needs and their wants and their vision, and the projects are so different also, right? So it's a bunch of different things that keeps it exciting in my welding world. So
that's amazing. All right, we're getting close to the end of the interview. I got a couple more questions to wrap up here. I've been making some notes, but I got a couple things to ask you. First of all, what's your future plan? You're 10 years in now, Fronius. Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? I mean, I pin you somewhere in your mid to late 30s, maybe. And so, like, where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself, like, and this is like your performance review from your boss. Do you see your division, your department, you want to grow that? Or do you see yourself moving into a different position? What's in it for Leon?
So, Leon, the educator, I always I want my guys to develop and be better than me than I ever was. And I also want them to take my job at some point.
Yeah.
Right. So Leon in 10 years is probably not doing this job because one of his guys is doing it. Where does that leave me? Fronius, from a Fronius standpoint, if Fronius is in 10 years, the growth is like this. The technology is out of this world. After I came back from that trip to New Brunswick with you guys, that's when I realized what I want to do. I want to be involved with the people, the products, creating excitement around welding. So I don't know where that takes me because it's only been, what was that? 3 months ago, 3 months ago?
No, it was longer than that. 4 or 5 months ago now. It was October, wasn't it?
Was it October?
Yeah.
All right. All right, so 3 months ago. 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Right? And when I left there, I'm like, this is when I'm having the most fun, right?
Yeah.
It could be it could and probably will be a Fronius because it's the stuff that we do here is absolutely amazing.
And I feel like
somebody will be doing my job.
Yeah, I feel like they're all in on you too, right? So I'm sure they're looking to see what opportunities they can give you as well.
Oh, for sure. My department, for example, has probably doubled in the time I've been here.
Yeah.
And it next thing is to have, in my vision, is to have regional hubs, right?
Right.
Mississauga right now is the hub, but you're gonna have a regional hub in the west, a regional hub central, a regional hub east. Then you're gonna have regional managers, and
Yeah.
and there's so much coming for us. There's new industries coming. There is the push in the automotive sector going away from gasoline to
EV,
hybridization and EV. So is that a new place where we have to get a guy and focus you on the EV world, right? And especially with my electrical background, that could make sense, right?
Yeah.
So there is so much happening, and if Fronius Canada wants to say, "Hey, Leon, here's the keys," I will put a nitrous in it and take off.
You'll get that spaceship going hardcore,
right?
And let me tell you, we would love to have a Pharonius hub out in the West, because out in the West we don't have a lot of Pharonius representation. I think we have less and less the more west you go, and it would be nice to see a lot more red machines out here.
For sure. We opened a team recently in BC, and gotta get your feet wet, gotta build and build, right? We like to say make babies. You get one, and then it makes babies, and it has two, then it's four, and then there's so we are spreading our wings across Canada, and I think it's essential, because you really have to stand behind your product anywhere you go. One thing we don't just do is just ship it and let it go. We ship it and walk behind it, make sure we follow wherever it goes. So we're definitely growing, and yeah, definitely big things to come. Especially from what I see and what I know, there's some really fun and interesting things to come, and I want to be around for that.
Yeah,
definitely.
So that's future Leon professionally. Now the second to last question, because there's two left, one more, is what's Leon's next few years look like personally? What's pet projects that you want to get going on? Do you want to expand on your Jamaican support, on your mentorship opportunities in the GTA? What are the things that you're looking as kind of like passion projects for yourself?
I'm definitely, so I tell the family, I'm like, yeah, so I have one machine for the school, and I want to get maybe 4 or 5. And they look at me like, how much money do you have?
Well, you got to find sponsors. You got to find sponsors, man.
Fear. I'm just so used to just doing it myself, right? But for sure, nothing wrong with finding sponsors. So definitely, I want to. My dream is to put a welding robot in Jamaica.
Nice.
Why? Because there's so much reshoring of work coming back to the West, and okay, we bring it back to Ontario, and then we don't have anybody to do the job, right? Get robots. Okay, that's good. But if we could unlock 3 million people in an island with robots helping support our supply chain, that would work, right? So in my head, that's my next thing I want to do is bring automation to the island, and hopefully they could multiply that to make an industry that feeds into the industry that I'm currently in Canada.
Well, that makes awesome sense. Yeah, and I'm on the same boat. I'm trying to do the same thing, so I love it. Yeah.
Right. So that's my and I've said it out loud to a few people, and no one yet has told me I'm crazy.
Well, you just said it out loud to like 40,000 people, so.
Right. No one says I'm crazy yet, but I definitely want to do that locally. I also want to get involved with the kids here. I am still, as I said, mentoring kids. But if I could do that on a scale, I think I would thoroughly enjoy that also. Awesome. Right. So if CWB needs some representation in my community, give me a shout.
Oh man, you have no idea what's coming down the pipeline. Danielle already sent me a message during this podcast being like, ask him about this. I'm like, relax. We'll figure it out. We'll talk after. But
yeah, so definitely, I'm all about let's say giving, but I'm also about nurturing, right? Nurturing the next minds, the next and there's so much that we have here. I took a tour of Waterloo University and met their
new
their
center
welding
there?
department,
Yeah, it's awesome.
right? And I'm like, we have so much talent here. It is mind blowing how much talent it's within our reach, right? So we don't have to go to the US to be great.
We're good.
We could
got
be great.
lots.
We could be great right here, right? So I'm definitely looking forward to giving and growing personally and professionally. I think personally for me, I think there's some big things to come.
Good.
In the future. My slogan for this year is that you are the CEO of you, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's some big things to come this year and going forward.
All right. And last question here for you, Leon, is what advice would you give young Black Canadians or young Black immigrants, people of color coming to this country, maybe in your same situation in your teen years to succeed? What are the things that they should look for to help them get ahead and be successful Canadians?
All right. My best advice to young me, somebody who's young Leon. There is so much information available now that wasn't available because I'm in Canada. I came to Canada. Google wasn't even a thing at the time. There is so many resources available now for you to tap into from the information, how to go to school. What is your passion? You find your passion, research your passion, find somebody who looks like you, who you could identify with, and be that person, right? I remember when I was playing soccer a lot growing up, and they say, okay, you want to be like Pele? Go play just like Pele. He was successful doing that. You could be successful doing that, right? So you find your passion, invest in your passion, research your passion, find someone who you could identify with, mentor. It doesn't have to be somebody who looks like you. If it is and you feel comfortable, great. If it isn't, the Canadians are giving people. You could find that mentorship, that guidance. Go talk to your student council rep at school. Go knock on a door in a business and talk to the business owner. Whatever it is you're passionate about, you could do it, believe it, research it, and strive for it. So that's what I'd say. Find your passion.
Awesome.
Go for it.
Love it.
Yep.
Any shout outs? Anything you want to say to anybody? This is your window now.
Daniela, I told you. So there is some awesome people in my corner. The whole Fronius family, you're great. Isa family, awesome too. And the engineers, the welders, the welding engineers, the robot techs, everybody who I've come across, thank you for being a part of the journey. I think you guys are awesome. I learned a lot from multiple people. Thank you, Max, for this opportunity. As I said, we've met in person. I love your energy. I love bouncing ideas off you and learning from your experiences. So another 10, 20, 30 years, we'll have some more fun doing this thing.
Yeah, we got time, man. We got time. All right. Well,
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Leon, for being on the show. And thanks for everyone for tuning in. We're going to have a wonderful month. For Black History Month, we got lots of great guests, and Leon's kicking it off for us. So stay tuned for the rest of the episodes and support your community. That's the lesson today. Be involved, give back, take what you know. And if you have the opportunity or the wanting to, mentor. Help the next generation come on up. We need as many people to help support the next gen as possible. So thanks a lot. And thanks for tuning in and following the show. Thanks again, Leon.
Thanks, Max. Thanks, CWBA.
And for all the people that have been downloading and sharing and commenting, keep it up. Keep sending us the requests for people to bring on the show too. I love getting emails where say, hey, I met this person or I met this company. We chase every lead down. So if you know anybody out there that you think would be great on the show, send them our way and keep commenting, downloading, and sharing the podcast. We appreciate it. Stay tuned to the next episode.
We hope you enjoy the show.